Okay, we are live. Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, very special guest, returning guest. If you listen to my show, you know his name is Todd Wood, Wood. He operates Killafornia, and I'll put a link to his YouTube channel. We were talking in the pre-show. This will be our 13th show, and we're going to cover somebody who isn't talked about. I don't think I've heard him on any really true crime program. There's a few blogs about him, but his name was Stephen C. Hurd. And he was definitely an occult, satanic killer, or whatever you want to term it, esoteric. Probably drowned out by so many things that happened in the '60s. Crimes that took place in California, and in Orange County. But some of the other stories, some of the other episodes I've done with Todd and Walter Bosley of the Walter Bosley channel. Some of the ones we've done with Walter are West Memphis 3. We've done Scarlet Blake and the SFK phenomenon, Prophet of Evil. We covered Ingersoll Lockwood. Let's see what else, but some MK Ultra and the Rye, kind of Catcher in the Rye stuff. But recently, Todd and I have done in April, it's July 1st today, we covered the strange case of Thomas Arthur Vallee. Not many people talk about him. He's kind of an Oswald figure for what was possibly going to happen in Chicago to JFK. We've also covered William Joseph Bryan, really interesting topic. We did one with George of Cavdef on another kind of character like this. His name was Thomas Creech. Not a lot of people know about Creech either, for that matter. But there's a lot of very dark actors in California. We also did one about the Hand of Death cult. We've done 4 Pi, which kind of ties into this. A lot of really, and the Zodiac Speaking. So that was the documentary about the Zodiac killings in California. When you look at it all, when you look at the tapestry, it's like a Hieronymus Bosch tapestry of what was going on in California in the 60s. It's really super dark. Because a lot of people look at things through the lens of just one occurrence. The Manson was just dark, obviously, or some of these other killings or assassinations. But there's a lot more going on, and Stephen C. Hurd is part of it. And again, Todd of Killafornia is going to talk more about it. So, Todd, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, you're completely right. It is a tapestry. It's a tapestry of Satanism, violence, just evil. Tapestry of evil. But yeah, we're talking about Stephen Hurd. Now, the thing about Stephen Hurd is he was openly a theistic Satanist. He believed that Satan was the way to go. And he's a card-carrying member of the 4 Pi movement. Now, his past is, first let me say that this case encapsulates everything, or encapsulates Dave McAllen's thesis completely.
Which is?
Programmed to Kill, the Satanic cover-up. This is, there's possible mind control elements here. There's Satanism, obviously, like I just said, with Stephen Hurd. There's cult activity. It's got it all. The only reason I can think in my head that he may have missed this crime is because it happened in such close proximity to Stanley Dean Baker. In fact, a lot of the stuff with Stanley Dean Baker was a sort of a lot of stuff with Hurd was attributed to Stanley Dean Baker, but I think it's just a jumble because the crimes happened a month and a half apart from each other, just about. So it's easy to get confused. But with Stephen Hurd, his background, his upbringing, there's abuse, right? Just like we see in the Program to Kill books, like we read about. There's a long arrest record. And in fact, he's actually initiated into the 4 Pi movement in jail in Provo, Utah, by a motorcycle gangster, a motorcyclist by the name of Robert Stevens. And then from there, he just he gets out of prison in like 68. And he's
young. Sorry to interrupt, but he's a young guy. He was born in 1950. So
right. He was 20.
When the murders happened, he was 20. When he was
Yeah.
inducted, he was 18.
18.
So,
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Mhm.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. So from there, he hooks up with the Grand Shingon, who he actually names in this manuscript, this unpublished manuscript that's available at archive.org by Ed Sanders, called Amongst the Damned. And he calls him Leif Erikson, like the Viking. And but anyways, so most of our information about the 4 Pi movement comes from Stephen Hurd. Now, there are some editing errors in the 2002 book, The Family, that gets kind of confusing. But the chapter on Stephen Hurd in Among the Damned has the most information on the case, in my opinion. It's fascinating. According to Hurd, he infiltrated he joined the Weather Underground. He infiltrated the Nazis in California, in the Southern California and Northern California. And he was a member of the 4 Pi. Of course, I've said that already.
Hey,
But
can you expand on that for people who hadn't heard our earlier show? What's the 4 Pi and California?
Well, a lot of people believe it's a breakaway from the Process Church of the Final Judgment. But in my opinion, it's what it is actually is what the name suggests. It's a movement. It's not its own cult. There are thought leaders in the movement. That's what the Grand Chingons are. According to Hurd, every district has its own Grand Chingon. So the Grand Chingon of Santa Cruz is not the Grand Chingon of LA. Two different districts. Right. And another reason why I think the 4 Pi movement is a movement and not its own cult is because you would have a conflict of interest, right? Like Hurd, who started up his own chapter of the Sons of Satan, which is a prominent 1%er biker gang started by a guy named John Satan Marin in the 1940s, and it was incorporated in the 1950s. What happens when the biker gang tells you to do one thing and the cult tells you to do something else, right?
Right.
Thus, it's a movement. Anybody can be in it. Stanley Baker, who I do believe is in it, anybody, any serial killer, anybody, any biker, any gangster, and they don't have to like each other. Hurd did not like Manson, right? I don't know if Manson ever met Hurd.
Didn't Manson mention the Chingon? He knew the term, didn't he? If I remember.
He was, yes, and it's quite possible. One of the reasons they went from San Francisco to LA is because, according to Among the Damned by Ed Sanders, Manson was the head Chingon, a head Chingon of that particular district.
Wow.
Right? So you have Leif Erikson in San Francisco. That's the Grand Chingon there. And then in LA, you have Manson. And then in Orange County, you probably have a whole nother guy.
Interesting.
Yeah. And this is new information that I just found out. In fact, we just put out the Killafornia episode with Paul Gregory. And there's a lot of stuff I didn't know about that, you know, I got new information. And so I made some mistakes in that episode, needless to say.
Tell me about that. Expand on that. Who's Paul Gregory and what episode did you guys do?
Oh, we did an episode just discussing cults in general. He wanted to talk about Arliss Perry a little and the Sons of Sam cult.
I don't know that name. I don't know who Paul Gregory is. I don't know that.
Yeah, he's fairly new to the whole parapolitics, true crime scene, I would say. He's from England. I think he reached out to me by email. Now that name, right? Yeah, actually, you hooked us up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. It didn't. My memory isn't as fast as it used to be. I remember that name, but yeah, new name, kind of newer figure. So you guys talked about all this new kind of newer stuff. Right.
Now what's interesting is so then let's get into the crimes a little bit. So, but before I say that, talk about the crimes. He tries to start his own chapter of the Sons of Satan, this 1%er motorcycle game that I mentioned before. The only thing was none of them personally owned a motorcycle. That's one of the weird things about this case. And they were all hooked on Reds.
Right. So that's a connection to the kind of Manson family. A lot of speed. Right.
Right. Well, as far as I know,
and the biker groups. Yeah.
Well, is it speed? Because as far as I know, Reds are Secobarbital, are Seconal, right? Like Reds are Red Devils.
Okay, I wouldn't know. I'm probably wrong. I thought these guys were doing speeds, but maybe
they are. They're doing multiple drugs.
Okay.
It's just apparently Reds is like the main one they do.
Gotcha.
And Reds was a big drug back in Haight-Ashbury in the 1960s into the 70s. So, of course, low on funds. They're in Costa Mesa at the Executive Suite Motel. They have to go out looking for a target, looking for someone to rob or perhaps a place to rob. And they set their sights on this gas station. The Sons of Satan is, Stephen Hurd, who is the ringleader of the Sons of Satan. Now, the cult consisted of 5 main members. Stephen Hurd, 325 pounds. I think he was about 16. Arthur Moose Hulse, Christopher Gypsy Gibbony, Herman Taylor, who would later turn state evidence, and then 31-year-old Melanie Daniels, who is no stranger to biker gangs. She used to be in the Misfits biker gang, and she was kidnapped at one time. And that's a whole nother episode we can do on just her. But yes, so they find this gas station to rob. They go in, and they only get $40 from the gas station attendant, Jerry Wayne Carlin. And then they take him to the bathroom, and I guess Carlin is pleading for his life, and that enrages Arthur Moose Hulse, who brought in a hatchet with him. And sad to say that Jerry Wayne Carlin got the hatchet and it killed him. And then the next day, as they were going to Laguna Beach, their 1950s Oldsmobile kind of breaks down. And so they need wills. And what ends up happening is they hijack this car that belongs to a teacher, Florence Nancy Brown. Now, and Florence Nancy Brown, who is sadly making fun of Stephen Hurd and the rest of the group, they decide to kill her. So they go to the orange groves in Irvine, California, and they stab her to death. They leave, and then come back, and they remove the heart, right? And they remove the ribs, and they remove the lungs, and whenever they amputate one of her arms. The detective on the case is a man by the name of Richard Drake, and he said the cuts looked professional. Whoever done this had done this before and had a working knowledge of human anatomy.
And now, these are young kids, right? So
right, and that just leaves Melanie Daniels. Now the fascinating thing is in this cult. Now I am not sure if this is a Sons of Satan belief or if this is a 4-Pi belief. I'm thinking it might be just a Sons of Satan belief because there was no organs missing from Arliss Perry. Well, they believe it's okay to kill as long as you take part of the body and use it as tribute to the devil. Now, so the ribs, lungs, and I'm guessing maybe the right arm, those were used as the rest of the gang paid tribute. Stephen Hurd, as they drove the car, took the heart and ate half of it and burned the other half along with the Florence Nancy Brown station wagon somewhere between Orange County in the mountains and Santa Cruz. Now, I think that's very fascinating because this is one of the true satanic crimes. There's a lot of doubters out there. And this one, I just really am surprised that it's just kind of fallen through the cracks for all these years. And shout out to Dana Dudall. She's been helping me with this case, and we've been working it together, and we have just found some insane stuff. For example, the two people who did the killing of Florence Nancy Brown was actually Christopher Gibney and Stephen Hurd. And yet Gibney sort of the rest of the group turn on Hurd, and it's Hurd and Holst who sort of take the blame, and they get 2 consecutive life sentences in the case. But this case has, in the history of California, had the strictest, what's it called? Gag order. You couldn't talk about it. Up to that date, it had the strictest gag order of any case. So there may not be any court transcripts, trial transcript of this case. Exactly the same as the Stanley Dean Baker case, where they just didn't take a transcript.
Wow.
Right?
And this is June. The crimes were June
2nd and 3rd.
1970, now, right?
1970. And then, I was hung up on the Aztec thing for a bit. It's just, I guess it's just coincidence that it takes, this heart extraction happened during a month where heart extraction was the preferred methodology of human sacrifice for the Aztecs, just like Stanley Baker being the last day of the 8th month of the Aztec calendar, which again, the preferred method of human sacrifice is heart extraction. That's just a coincidence. But what is not a coincidence is all 3 of our heart extractors spent time in Haight-Ashbury.
Wow.
So it may be a reasonable speculation that all 3 of them were members of the 4-Pi movement. Because the preferred methodology of sacrifice by the 4-Pi movement is, you guessed it, human sacrifice, or is heart extraction, right? So that's Stephen Hurd, Stanley Dean Baker, and Tony Costa.
These are all Baker's crimes are also 1970, right?
It's a month and a half from the from Hurd's crimes, July 11th.
Fascinating. Wow.
Right, and then Costa was 1968. No, 1969. I'm sorry, 1969 was Costa. But my speculation is there may be a heavier biker influence on the 4-Pi than we think. Just because there seems to be a lot of association with bikers through Melanie Daniels, who belonged to the Misfits. Or, the whole thing about the Sons of Satan is I kind of think you need to get permission from the head honcho if you're going to start up a chapter. You just don't go off and do it, right? Wouldn't you think that, William?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, I think there would be serious consequences if you didn't do that. And as we know, if the 4-Pi was started up by the Process Church, we do know from that chapter that Sanders was forced to take out of the first edition of the family that the Process Church was using bikers to create chaos. And that's what I believe this case is. I believe this case is Operation Chaos. Now, an interesting tidbit about Stephen Hurd is Stephen Hurd thought he was actually in contact with the devil, right? So he would refer to that being as his father, the devil, right? Not to be confused with the head devil or chief devil or Grand Chingon. Those are two different things. One's, I guess if you're a Dexter fan, you can say, my father, the devil, is Stephen Hurd's dark passenger, telling him to do stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And the other is a human being who portrays himself as the son of the devil who's kind of like a boss of sorts.
Understood. Yeah, wow. So he had two contacts. He had kind of like a worldly contact and an otherworldly contact, is what you're saying.
Right. And so, I mean, there may be an MK Ultra type of thing here.
Right. It's like split brain or schizophrenia or schismogenesis or something, right?
Yeah, you're right. And I mean, if there's a voice in your head, all it takes is someone with a little bit of persuasion skill to tell you what that voice's name is and who it is.
If you're watching this on Rockfin Rumble or X, you will see a picture of Stephen Hurd. And he is in the bottom left here. He kind of has very long hair over his ears, but he's actually at the crime scene after he was arrested. The trial took place like 5 years later, right? It was weird.
It did. And they found they gave him tranquilizers, and they found him sane enough to stand the stand trial.
Yeah, just the fact that it's 5 years later is weird too. That's not that's not constitutional. That's not a speedy trial.
Oh, his human rights were violated, most definitely. And the mere fact that Christopher Gibney didn't serve nearly as much prison time as Stephen Hurd, or may I say, Stanley Baker, who only served 15 years compared to Hurd, who got 2 life sentences.
Wow.
Right? Now, in my opinion, Baker is definitely an agent of chaos. A lot of people don't realize he actually spent 4 years in the Navy. He didn't actually go to college. He dropped out of high school when he was a senior. So
incredible. Just incredible stuff happening all around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so this is Ed Sanders' unpublished manuscript that covers a lot of these California crimes, by the way.
He never finished it. He got burnt out and he couldn't finish it.
I don't blame him. But a lot of people don't know he's friends with Maury Terry, their fellow research kind of pre-internet research chums. They would have, encomiums. They would basically thank each other in their kind of book intros and stuff like that. So
right now, anybody who's gonna go and find this and read this, you should know it's not edited. It's just a manuscript. There's misspellings. Of course, Ed Sanders has a particular way of writing. There's Ed-isms in there that may catch you off guard. That aren't real words. And the grammar and all that. So just know what you're getting yourself into.
Exactly. So, I mean, there's more to this story. Like, there were drugs. They had the body in the car for a while or something.
Right. One reason and the cover came off the body, and they got stopped by the police, and they just quickly covered the body up, and the police was, didn't figure it out and went upon his way, and that's one reason the drugs and stuff is one reason I think this may be a part of Operation Chaos. Now, the Psychedelics Act of 1970 happened, right? And one thing Hurd said is LSD made him feel like it was okay to commit evil, like evil was good, right? When Stanley Baker was arrested, he had a recipe for LSD on his person, as well as the Satanic Bible, right? So this may be an Operation Chaos thing, but the difference being where Hurd is the sort of patsy scapegoat, Baker may actually be a sort of an O&I type of agent, playing the part
of naval intelligence, right?
Right. Well, because Baker would keep telling on himself, right? And it got kind of weird after a while. So yeah.
What was the guy's name who came out and said we're programming assassins? It was the Narut, right?
Narut, yeah. This might be part of that.
He would then subsequently deny it, but he had all of the CV, all of the achievements Narut had for like a mind control agent. He had like BA psychology, advanced degrees. He'd written papers on this stuff.
No, it's this case is absolutely fascinating to me. Because there's just a lot. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff. Who is the Grand Shingon? Is it Brian? Is this one of the other people? The fact that he describes the Grand Shingon as having 15 older slaves is weird, right? If you're a dude, you're gonna want young ladies. You're not gonna want slaves your own age.
Yeah, it's weird, but it sounds like the weird numerology that kind of ties into Sons of Sam too. Like weird.
That's why I think it's possibly George Hunter White, right? Because those guys are no stranger to playing different characters. In fact, during Operation Midnight Climax, which was still going on at the time, one of the scientists would pretend to be a pimp. Yeah, and there's a spin article from, I believe, 1994 that talks about that.
And White is, I mean, didn't that one thing we did about Sylvie, wasn't there some connection between William Joseph Bryan and White too? Like they're in the same area. White is Northern California.
White was working in the safe house in Telegraph Hill with the rest of his scientists. It could be 15, it could be less. I don't know. I haven't looked into that yet. But according to Project Artichoke, Bryan was hired as a consultant.
Gotcha. So he's
consulting. So he was hired to play the part of the Grand Shingon, basically.
It's absolutely incredible. Like it's all hidden history. It's so important too. Like holy smokes! Like this ties all these weird cases together and these weird people. And for people who haven't read through the Sanders manuscripts, which I have, the what's the name of it? Amongst the Damned. It also brings in those weird cases that happened in Santa Cruz, right? The
most definitely. Yeah. Oh, most definitely. And tell you what,
that involved acid, that involved LSD. And
the Weather Underground played a much bigger part in all this. I heard claim to be a member of the Weather Underground, and he said it himself, creating chaos between the right and left. That was the idea.
Right, that's the Symbionese National Army or whatever. Symbionese. That's 74. Arliss Perry 74.
Right, and the End of Chaos was 74.
I mean, it's really incredible.
Chaos starts in 67, ends in 74.
Weather Underground praised the Manson killings. They called it the season of the fork, like that. Because one of the top late to date in LaBianca and his wife, somebody had a fork stuck in them. And a lot of stuff was left out of the kind of public, but when they wrote War, they wrote it with the upside down, up and down triangle. That was much more Masonic or
and the W. Yeah. That's actually that symbol shows up in a lot of different places. If you're in the process church, perhaps it's the unification of opposites, the chalice and the phallus, but it's also Luciferian. That symbol shows up in the symbology of Luciferianism and a whole bunch of other stuff.
Sure does. It shows kind of much more occult, like they just gloss over the occultism, Manson, and all his connections and stuff, process connections, which is a huge mistake. And this guy, so this guy, I think even LaVey came out and said Stephen Hurd is not a member of LaVey because they were supposedly on a kind of Black Hajj or whatever, a pilgrimage to go see somebody, right? Like that.
So they take her car to San Quentin because Melanie Daniels wanted to see one of her friends that was locked up there. And Stephen Hurd wanted to go see the Grand Shingon,
right,
in San Francisco, right? The one reason that we may doubt it's Jolly West or William Joseph Bryan is if he's going to San Francisco to see him, that would imply that whoever this Grand Shingon is was living in San Francisco, where Bryan lived in Van Nuys, California, with his wife and kids. And obviously, Jolly West, who did live in San Francisco, had to move to Los Angeles to work at UCLA in '69. So, I mean, I kind of think it might be Hunter White in one of his one of his goons, science goons that were up there in Telegraph Hill. That's my personal opinion.
Have you ever connected White to any occultism or esoteric type stuff? Because he seemed to be really kind of a straight. I know he was an alcoholic,
right? Right, but I mean, look, his cover in San Francisco is he was like a painter. So
really?
I mean,
I didn't know.
Yeah, he was. Oh, wow. They all had different covers, and were playing
and the fake characters. Names like mobsters and stuff. Yeah, they had fake.
Right. Yeah, that's why it's highly likely. Plus, again, chaos was going on. COINTELPRO. You had FBI agents doing the same sort of undercover work, playing the same type of people. Right.
Right. And where does Hurd end up of all places? Atascadero, which is like a show in itself. Like, how many crazy people have come out of Atascadero?
A whole lot. Yeah. And Hulse went to Vacaville. There's your Simulation Army connection right there.
Oh, it's like unbelievable. When you start making these connections, you're like, these state hospitals, these state penitentiaries are like testing zones. They're like crazy testing zones for chaos.
He could have been. I mean, that's not the first prison he went to. Again, he went to prison in Provo, and then went in Chino, was transferred to a prison in Chino. And here's the weird thing. This is another reason why I think this is an op. Because his cellmate, Robert Stevens, one, what are the chances that out of everybody in that prison, you just so happen to be cellmates with another theistic Satanist? That's pretty slim. Two, what are the chances of your cellmate following you from Provo to Chino?
0. Like, weird.
Yeah. And this guy claims to have been a member of the Hells Angels and a bunch of different motorcycle gangs. And that the terminology for that is a nomad, someone who can belong to different clubs. Like Melanie Daniels would be considered a nomad, but she belonged, one of the clubs she belonged to was the Misfits, which was a very violent motorcycle gang, as most motorcycle gangs were in the 1960s into the 70s. Hell, even into the 80s. They were at war with each other. And of course, I need to say that the Sons of Satan motorcycle gang, started by John Satan Marin, was a, I guess, brother club, or a brother club to the Pagans, which is another 1% motorcycle gang, which is still around. They got busted for trafficking meth and selling meth not too long ago.
They've always been involved in speed and meth and all that stuff. They just have been involved in that for decades.
Right. So again, and Christopher Gimley said he was made to take war pills, Reds and war pills, right? Wow. So unless there is a meth or speed that's in a red pill form, the only red pill form we have is secrobarbital, which is a barbiturate, which is a downer, which is an opposite. So I'm guessing that it had to be multiple drugs. We know Hurd was on LSD and a bunch of different ones. So
I did that show with Hans Uter, and we went over the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, and they were doing tests, giving rats speed and watching them to eat each other. So they knew that the speed just made people go berserk. Mm-hmm. And we know the night of the Manson killings, all those guys were on speed. Like they were given speed intentionally. Like it's here, take this and go, you know.
Right. That's probably the war pills, but which ones we don't know. It could be amphetamine, which is Dana was telling me about, which is sort of like a cross between methamphetamines and LSD, or it could be STP. Right.
Who knows? It's scary. Like they were these are like live action open air experiments on some of these people. Here, take this pill. Mm-hmm. Crazy. I mean, this whole case is just off the charts.
Yes. I mean, there's just so much weird stuff. Again, Melanie Daniels is an enigma within herself, and she may be a federal informant. we sort of hypothesized that, Dana and I. But you know, she's a very sick and violent person. I mean, the stuff she talks about doing to people, nailing people to walls, and the just terrible, terrible things that she did with the biker gangs. That probably never, you know, was in the papers. They kept out of the papers for good reason. It's horrifying.
They were so young. Hurd was the head, and these two guys are like, Giboney's 16 or 17, and Hulse is a huge guy at a young age, like 17 or 18. So it's like amazing that they're involved with all this 31-year-old and killing people. And
well, the 31-year-old may be, Melanie may be their handler,
right?
In a sense, right?
Yeah. And this is random too, the randomness, right? So they randomly found the guy at the gas station. How did they select Florence Brown? Yeah.
Because they needed a car, because Herman Taylor's car broke down or stalled. So they needed a car because they were going to Laguna Beach for quote unquote peace, right? Now,
and they kind of lived kind of like the Manson family, if I understood. Like they would just sleep wherever they could. They were kind of nomadic.
Right. They would eat out of trash cans if they didn't have money. Yeah. And so yeah, they carjacked Florence Nancy Brown. Now another weird thing about this case is 1981. You have a whole nother Brown being taken from the same spot, essentially. That's Diane Brown, and that case never got solved. And they found her in different pieces, and her hands were missing. So, I mean, that's kind of crazy too. Yeah. William Gamble, the lawyer, is the lawyer that represented the Brotherhood of Eternal Love in their trials. And we know that the Brotherhood of Eternal Love were trafficking all sorts of drugs.
So there's a connection there. Wow.
Oh yeah.
I wonder if William K. Gamble is still alive.
He is.
Wow. I wonder if he does interviews. There he is. He's still 5 decades of experience. He's still at it. There he is. He's on Yelp. You can give him a Yelp thing.
Yeah.
Now he's in San Luis Obispo.
At a ranch.
Yeah, there he is. He's had some unfair accusations made against him. I wonder what they are.
Oh, was he a CIA lawyer?
I don't know. Seems
because he kind of seems like a CIA lawyer. Maybe he's not. I don't know if he is or not. But he kind of seems that way.
He has no disciplinary actions, so that's good. I mean, that means that he hasn't been censured or upgraded.
Maybe it's because he was a what they call a psychological engineer in the Navy. Maybe people accused him of being part of the MK Ultra program. I don't know. Which a psychological engineer is essentially a profiler.
Right. That's wild that he's in the literal naval, like, is he part of naval intelligence? I mean, he's a lawyer. That's who they like. That's who they talent spot. They talent spot lawyers and doctors and all kinds of
stuff. Yeah. So,
you can go to Get Gamble, his website. Let's see, pull him up. This is incredible. This guy's still around, still doing his thing. Let me see if I can remove. I'm pretty sure this is the guy right here. Looks like the same age. Aggressive criminal defense. He's done it. He defended a satanic killer. There he is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Past is present.
Yeah. I want to know why the gag order was so strict. I mean, there had to be some things that came out in this trial. That's one of the reasons why I think this is part of an operation.
I'll send Gamble an email and see if he wants to talk.
Okay.
See if he wants to.
Okay. If we do that, we need Dana.
I want to know his stuff about the eternal brotherly love stuff too that was going on. They were some of the biggest LSD distributors. That's
Not
a common
just
theme in all
LSD,
this stuff.
hashish, and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah. And at one point, the Brotherhood grew so big, it would have been insanely hard to manage. So, I mean, it could have been gotten out of the founders' control pretty easily, in my opinion.
Who was the guy who came from kind of a blue blood background who was the head of that? There was a guy there.
Oh, John Griggs, is that his name?
Maybe, I don't remember. There's a book about it. I haven't read it in a while.
I watched the documentary. I mean, again, also there's a connection with the Weather Underground to the Brotherhood. There's a connection with Hurd and the Brotherhood, right? Dana has found some other connections between the Manson family and the Brotherhood, or the Manson family and the Weather Underground. Please excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, LSD cult. What's his name? Brotherhood of Eternal Love. That's it.
Yeah. John Griggs.
Human Being, 1967, Leary, all these characters.
Yeah. And then what the common theme here is war, right? After Leary broke out of prison, he talked of World War III. And then the Weather Underground and their little recorded messages, they talked about war. Manson killed the Rosemary LaBianca, and they write war. War is a big theme in this whole 1960s into the 70s type of deal. That's why I think there is initially there was like Hurd unknowingly perhaps was an acceleration agent, and they kind of wanted like a civil war between the counterculture and the straights, I guess you could say.
The guy's name was Owsley Stanley. Big time into the Grateful Dead, the counterculture, but also his paternal grandfather was Augustus Owsley Stanley, member of the Senate. Back, so I think
that's interesting.
Yeah, it sure is. I feel like he was well educated too. I got to double check that, but overlap between the Brotherhood of Eternal, whatever it is.
Yeah,
I keep forgetting it. The Brotherhood of Eternal Love overlap between was him and the Dead. Like, so then you see the Dead, just this Johnny Appleseed of LSD, part of popularizing it, right?
That's right.
And then it goes back. All these guys are killers. They're all on LSD. They've all been just totally drugged out. Like, that seems almost like the predicate. That's the same thing with Manson. So you can go Manson, Hurd, probably Baker, the two guys in Santa Cruz, I can't remember their names.
Costa,
they're all on heavy drugs.
Yeah. And it goes on and on and on. It even possibly connects to Creech and the Bundy, and it keeps going, you know? I mean, that satanic ritual that Egil Krog, who we believe is Egil Krog, writes the Ann Rule about in 1968 in the woods of Washington State. How are we to know if that was not a 4-pi meeting or not? Right. You know?
Yeah. No, it's incredible. His son's still around. They wrote that book about, I think it was Watergate too, right? Egil Krog was right in Watergate, if I remember.
Oh, yeah, he was.
It's just this incredible weaving tapestry of this thing. It's just like unbelievable that these things are happening so close to each other, but like they're handled in the public consciousness is kind of separate things. They're piped or whatever, where people don't see the larger wide angle picture of it all. Hold on. Why don't you tell people what you're up to?
Well, I'm doing another episode of Killafornia tonight, and you can find us at Walter Bosley, the Walter Bosley channel, or walterbosley.com. And the last episode we did with Paul Gregory, it was really well. And it was a pleasure to have him on. And, I continue doing research. I'm researching the Hurd case still. And shout out to Dana, and she's helping me. And we're doing this together, like I said in the beginning. And things are going pretty good.
Good.
Trying, exercise, and I'm dieting pretty heavily. So
good for you. Good. Take care of yourself. It's part of the victory is taking care of your physical and mental health. Dana Doodah, shout out to Dana Doodah, Rotting Jewels.
Yeah.
Everybody check out her YouTube. Check out your YouTube, Killafornia, and also the Walter Bosley channel.
And my Patreon.
Patreon, right. So I'll put a link to your Patreon, Killafornia. Some of these cases and some of the documents that we've gone over today, people can find there. And I know you're going to start posting their greater frequency. And so we're doing a show tonight at I guess it's going to be
7 p.m.
Eastern. 8 Eastern, right?
8 Eastern, 7 Central.
7 Central, 5 Pacific.
Right.
So I'll be talking about Children of the Beast. And then we also just have other things on the horizon. But this is another one as well as Creech, like Creech, Baker, all these guys. It's incredible how much chaos and darkness these guys just dumped on the earth. It's really something else. Like these are horrible crimes.
Right. Well, I mean, just look at Bundy, right? There's a lot of people have speculated that Bundy may have been like sort of an agent provocateur of sense, right? Because he stole those files from Representative Bill McDermott's office, and I don't know nearly as much about Bundy as George from Cav Death, but there's definitely something more going on with Bundy, just like Hurd and Creech and Baker and all that.
He had do you ever hear a story of Bundy having kind of a demon spirit or having some kind of dark energy?
Yes, he told someone that he thought he was possessed by an entity.
Yeah, I think there was something like that. And I know that all of his crimes, he was drunk. Did you ever see or hear of any drugs associated with him? I don't know.
It's quite possible. Quite possible. Yeah. I mean,
the guy was super smart. I know he got into law school and all that. I don't think he ever passed, but
he may have gotten into law school.
Like Casey, there's pictures of him amongst politicians,
right?
I think in like a Nixon meeting or something in Washington State or something like that.
Right.
But yeah.
Well,
he's overlapping.
He was like an up and comer in the Republican Party.
It's a strange, dangerous world out there. People check out Todd Wood stuff. We are at the 50-minute mark. We had about 150 live listeners. So thanks a lot for listening, everybody. Please share the show. Really appreciate it. And till next time, thank you so much. Thanks, Todd.
Have a good one, guys. Thanks.
Sorry, you just blocked out there. I don't hear the last one.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Who knows? Anyway, thanks, Todd.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.